What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to use tools on Roblox. First, I'm going to start off by doing no tools, and then I'm going to do B tools and fly. I just want to show y'all there are no tools. I do that so that way I know I only have my tools. And flying just makes building so much easier for me. If you're on a phone, I do not recommend flying because there's so many things that can contradict each other. But basically, I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to work my way down. This arrow, the cross arrow, basically, with the Z in the corner, that's the move arrow. You can move things with it. As you can see, I can move the lights around. You can move blocks around. That's going to be very useful. Now, I'm going to show y'all. You're going to notice I keep moving. You know that little settings button? It's like a little gear. I keep moving to that because that's my safety button. Any other button, it can like affect things. I can affect things with it. The settings on that one, that's like a material changer. I can change the material. If you didn't see, I just changed that street to a different texture. It looked like a different little texture material type thing. Now, that plus next to the globe, that creates a block. And that blue thing with the X at the top next to the move tool, that is the resizer. I can make it bigger, I can make it flatter, I can make it smaller, thinner, thicker, whatever I want, taller, shorter. That's what that button is used for. And I always am going to go back to press that settings button because that always makes sure that that basically guarantees me I'm not going to actually mess anything up, whether it's on accident or purpose, because that way I know, okay, I actually have to press something else to get to this point, and that's just the easier way I do things. I just press that one. That's like my go-to. Then we have the color tool. That C tool you guys just saw, that was me rotating. That's the rotation tool. It rotates all kind of ways. That can be kind of tricky sometimes, so make sure you remember which ways you're trying to rotate. Also, you can move like this little color thing. You can move it. Things like this with like the red at the top and the bottom, you can move that at different places. But I can just change the color to whatever I want. I can customize my own color with like that little, like the little drag effect you guys saw. And the surface tool, you can change any of the surface areas or like any of the areas. You can change it to something different. Like there's different little looks and textures and types. Basically there's a hinge. You kind of if it's smaller you'll be able to see it more, but that's basically the hinge and like all of the different things. Like there's just a bunch of different things you can use on that surface tool. Me personally, I never use the surface tool because it's never really been necessary for me. Like that's in all honesty, it's just never been that necessary for me to use the surface tool. I've never really had to, honestly. But you just kind of like click a part, select it, and that's how you use the tool. It's kind of like how you see in like developer things where the surface tool is like, it looks like that. That's what the surface tool looks like. But I just kept the glue right there. And that settings button, I always go back to that settings button. So to review a little bit, we have the move arrow, the resize, the rotation, the color, the surface tool, and the different like material it is. And there's a transparency. So if you don't want it to be fully solid, you could change the transparency of it. And you can always go back and change the colors. Like that's what you can do. If you make a mistake, there's a back button. I'll get to that later in the video, but that back button is very useful. And I can always change the transparency. If I want something completely invisible for like a mesh, there's also going to be a mesh video in the description that I did. And you guys can basically just like kind of see that. But there's your mesh. There's your mesh, your little force field, all of those. And this is like one of my favorite ones. This is what you used to cause havoc. I'm not even joking. People are menaces when they do this. You have the anchor tool. The anchor keeps everything together. You unanchor something, it all falls apart. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to unanchor a bunch of stuff. You see how that building was together? The anchor tool just moves it all apart. So the anchor tool does. If you see your build doing that and you know you aren't doing it, that's because somebody else is unanchoring all of your work. Somebody else is doing that. They're trying to sabotage you. That unanchor tool, that's what that does. You press something, everything falls apart. You see how all these things are falling apart? They were doing that until I unanchored it. Everything on that map is anchored until you unanchor it. You could unanchor a tree if the game lets you. That sign over there, I could unanchor it. I just unanchored the street, but you wouldn't know unless a bunch of people were on that street and it moved off the map. I unanchored that sign. You could unanchor so many things, but at the end of the day, I go back to that settings thing. I go back to the little material tool setting just so that way I don't actually touch or mess up anything I'm not supposed to, you know? collision. I'm trying to explain the best way I can. With collision, it's like I was going to show you with the tree, but a lot of trees, a lot of the time, they're like, you can walk through trees a lot of the time. But basically, that's how you can create a door a bit in a way. Collision tool. You get a block. Any block. Also, be sure you're on double tapping, because sometimes you can do that. You're going to want to make your block. I'm just going to make a big old block to show you guys how this collision tool works, because it can also be very, very useful sometimes. Very, very useful. Just how it's like you can walk through a mesh. That's because it's almost like there's no collision to it in a way, in all honesty. So you see, I can't walk through it right now. I can't walk through it. But when I press collision off, press collision off, I'm going to be able to walk through it. That's what I'm going to be able to do. Walk through whatever I press collision off on if I can't already walk through it. Don't press collision off while you're still in the block. I don't recommend that. You're just gonna mess you up, bro. You're just gonna mess you up. The add tool. There are so many shapes in this add tool. You have the regular block. You have a truss. If you've ever been in like those obby games, or just even a simple obby, you have a truss that you can climb. That's what these are. A truss. It's a truss. You climb that thing, and you're just on top of the world, basically. Next, like, you have a bunch of different tools. You have a wedge. The wedge is like, I kind of think of it as like a ramp a bit. I never really used the wedge. I try to use the things I know best, because when I start trying to experiment, when I'm actually trying to get something done, it takes longer. So when I'm not trying to get anything done, I'll just, I might experiment with stuff a bit. I might experiment with a different block, a different tool, figure out how to use it. A corner is almost like the wedge. They're not the same, but they look kind of similar a little bit when it's like flatter and lower to the ground. But I just made it bigger just so you guys can see. This is the corner. I guess it's like good if you're trying to be like kind of almost make a little bit of a pyramid type thing, but not really. That's what it's good for. They also have a cylinder. I love the cylinder. The cylinder is actually one of my favorite things, because it can be like a little building. It's amazing for like a set build and everything. And oh my goodness, I don't even know how to explain it, because it's amazing. You can rotate it. Rotating a cylinder. Cylinders are going to be one of the things you rotate a lot, because with the block, you can just resize it. But with a cylinder, you're going to have to rotate. And then you have a ball. It's a sphere. The sphere, a ball, sphere. Basically the same thing at this point. You just resize it if you want, and you can move it wherever. It's very easy. You can also stand on top of it, and it makes a great cloud. Here's a seat. You have this. You can't sit on that, right? You sit on that automatically. That is what that used for. You can't sit on that. You can sit on this. You can't sit on the other thing, but you can sit on this. Then we have a vehicle seat. Do they seem like the same thing to me? Yes, but they probably aren't. When you get into that, if you make a vehicle or whatever, there's probably going to be some significance. But do I see one? No, I don't. I really don't. Do you have a spawn? That's the last one here. Be careful. I'm being so for real. Be careful that your setting, when you press that J tool, that plus up there, that it is not spawn, bro. Because every time you reset, you're going to be resetting in the middle of a build. I did that one time. Here's another way you can reset too. You just do the colons, then the that works as well. That's the respawn button. So we have a regular seat, our sphere, which is also the ball, the vehicle seat, which is closest to the sphere, and then your cylinder, your wedge, your corner, your truss, your regular. But I'm being so for real, bro. I'm not even joking. Make sure you are not using spawn or seat for everything, because I accidentally did that one time. Entire build, everybody was spawning in different areas. They were spawning on tables. They were spawning in pools. Bro, it was bad. I built like crazy. But I'm gonna show you guys how to add a mesh. So I'm basically this is basically also showing you guys how to add a mesh. But if you want to go to the shorter form video for that, you could also do that. But basically, I'm just going to make a block. You're going to want to make a big old block. And the reason I make a big block is because I want to make sure I'm getting everything I need. I want to make sure I'm not losing that block. Because it is possible. You can lose the block in the mesh. I'm being so for real. You can lose the block in the mesh. And I've done it so many times. It's awful. It sucks. It really does. Because then you're out here trying to find your mesh. Or also, because if you're trying to get something done, like a high school role play or whatever, or set done in a certain amount of time in a competition in Roblox or whatever, you're you're gonna be screwed if you could not find that center, especially if your tool is not focused on that block the entire time, and if the mesh is so big. Like, that's what you're gonna do. But I was super duper hoping, that's crazy. I was like really hoping that I could just leave the game real quick, copy and paste that mesh, double tap, and you're gonna want to go back in your game. I was so glad that it actually didn't mess up. But yeah, there's a little flashy lights a little bit. It's kind of what happens. I pasted the mesh. You always need the fly. You need that fly tool. I picked a random dance moms game for this, by the way, because it's like, as long as the game has B tools, if you're able to use B tools in your private server, you should be able to do this as well. So that's basically, like, that's really all you gotta do. You see the little cookie? It's so small, but you can resize it. You can resize everything with a mesh. And there are so many more specific things I'll get into. But right now, these are just like the basics. These are the basics. I have not been in this game for so long, but it's like, when you remember those basics and you've been building for a while, you're not going to forget them. You really are not going to forget them. I want my cookie to be bigger. There are different things. One makes one wider, one makes one taller, one adds something else. I can't remember the other thing it adds. Probably volume. I don't really know. Bigger, taller, wider, thicker and higher. Offset, I never use these offset ones. I've just never felt the purpose or need to, especially with a mesh. It's like, if the mesh works out, I'm not about to like, it's already hard enough getting the mesh when I need it, if I need it fast. So it doesn't really matter to me. That collision tool, I was just experimenting with that collision tool, not gonna lie. But it's all about the process. You gotta be patient. It might take a while to learn things and memorize a few things. Once you get the hang of it, it's gonna work out. I promise you, it's gonna work out for you. There's like a lot of, I don't know what's happening out there, but there's like all these little different things we have. So you got your cube, you got your truss, your sphere, your spawn. I'm gonna show you how to add a decal now. That decal button is a lifesaver. It's amazing. But I kind of flopped on that decal, not gonna lie, because a lot needed to happen with that decal. But from what y'all are gonna see, that decal, y'all aren't gonna see this part because it took way too long. To find it, so it's like kind of a waste of time, not gonna lie. So I kind of cut that part out. In all honesty, I cut it out because it was like kind of a waste of time if I could not get the mesh that I needed and wanted. So you're gonna make a new block. I just made a new block. You hear what you're seeing now? Made the new block. And you have different sides to your decals. Remember, there are always different sides to your decals. If you want your decal on all of it, you want to have that copied. Let me tell you right now, you can find your meshes and your decals. A good chance you're going to find a lot of decals on Pinterest. If you don't want to go to the creator marketplace, or if you don't want to like do all that to get to the creator marketplace, go to Pinterest, look at it, and you can like go, if you have a different device or whatever, or you're going to a different tab, that's how you can do that. That's exactly how. Also, these letters, I'm pretty sure these letters are for PC controls, I'm pretty sure. But back to the point, Pinterest is going to be your best friend for decals. You can find a lot of different decals on Pinterest that you might not be able to find on Creator Marketplace without going so flipping far. With these decals, I was just trying to find something so random. And I went on Pinterest at first on my phone, but it didn't really work out. So I just ended up going to the marketplace. In the same way I did that mesh, we're going to do the decal. I'll do a separate video on that as well, if you want a more detailed and slowed down version. And so we're going to press, paste, and we have to, the whole thing. If it actually works out, you won't actually have to do that. You see the mesh work before, but I wanted a different defined mesh. So at first I didn't think the mesh worked at all. But here it is. It's like all nice and pretty. And then you're going to go at the bottom. I'm going to do a mesh on all sides, but I'm going to speed that up a little bit for y'all because nobody actually wants to see me add a mesh. But like, you have the bottom, the left, the right, the back, the top, you have the front, you have all those different sides to it. And you're going to see all those sides. Yeah, the front right there. There's all the sides. You have to remember that. And you can put a mesh, I'm not even joking, you can put a decal on any freaking shape, bro. You can put a decal on any shape and it will work out. If your decal actually works. Any shape. You make shapes, you can put any decal on them. Now, whether or not your decal gets banned, you can make your own custom decal, which I'll also do a separate video on. But you make a decal and your decal gets banned, that you get banned for that. I can't help you. I really cannot help you. I'm sorry. That is not my expertise at all, and I'm so sorry. I wish I could help you, but I can't. And weld tool, I don't know a thing about that weld tool. I'm gonna be so honest with you. Don't know a thing about the weld tool. I've never had to use it. I've never felt the need to use it. It tells you how to use it. There's those little info things. F3X, the question mark. There's an info thing on all of these. Just in case you don't, like, if you need a more in-depth, this is what this video is for. But there's like a little question mark thing that tells you. But bro, I do not know. But these things are so fun. I'm not even joking. Spotlights. You want your build to be brighter without adding all these neon pieces, bro? Add spotlights, because you can make them as big as you want, as bright as you want, whatever angle you want them from, and whatever color you want them from. I'm just going to do different lights to show y'all. My favorite ones to do are blue and pink. I love using the blue and pink lights, honestly, when I did build. You get the little thing right here, honestly. It's a perfect. It's amazing, in my opinion, at least. After that, we're just going to do a little fire. We got the sparkles, we got the fire, and we got the smoke. I love those things. Also, by the way, this is gonna be awful, but you can set people on fire, you can put smoke on people, you can turn people invisible, and you can make them sparkle. Should you do that? Not without the permission, but you can do that. You can do that. You can also sparkle yourself, I'm pretty sure. I think it's like a sparkle. It just says, I think it's it's just the colons and sparkle. I don't know, I haven't played the game in a while, but it's awesome. That's basically how it works. And here are all the little shapes, if you guys remember everything we've done. There's also a copy and paste. There's just a copy button. Then you have your back button, your forward button, and when you press copy, you need the move tool to move it to the side. That's how you copy things. That's exactly how you copy things, in all honesty. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you want any more tutorials with like more detail or anything like that, and I will try my best to do them. And that creation ID only works in the studio. It does not work in your game. You have to go to the studio to do that, because it won't work in the game. It'll erase everything. It really will. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next one.